Yes, Greta Gerwig's Barbie for Warner Brothers, starring Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling, is absolutely a toy commercial. There's nothing wrong with that. Hey everyone, this is Kevin T. Rodriguez, film critic of iCritic.net. Thank you for coming to my channel. And before we begin today's topic, let me state one thing that will not be happening in this video. I am not going to review Barbie. I am going to have a separate video where I review Barbie, but like the Sound of Freedom videos, I believe that the movie should be judged on its own merit and that outside circumstances should be discussed in separate videos like this one. Nevertheless, I've decided to upload this video first because I think it might make anticipation for the ultimate review way more enticing and interesting. So anyway, I've gotten into this very interesting conversation, not once, not twice, but almost 5 times on Twitter about the movie Barbie, and it's not whether or not I think it's going to be better than Oppenheimer or whether it deserves to make more money. Or personally, I always knew that Barbie was going to make more money and Oppenheimer was almost certainly going to be the better movie. I couldn't prove it, but it seemed likely. Whether that ended up happening or not, you'll have to tune in next week. But one thing that I did not expect to argue with people was when one friend got annoyed at another film critic for saying, great, that's what I love doing. I love going to movies to see toy commercials. And, she got really upset, like, it's not a toy commercial, it's a real movie. And I was like, absolutely is a toy commercial. And that started a whole thing with her about whether or not it's a toy commercial. And then there was another conversation with another guy who said, do you think Greta Gerwig is like making Barbie to be help sell toys to Mattel? And it's like, so I figure I'm going to make a video about this because several people clearly do not know where I'm coming from, and I think it is good to acknowledge, at least at the core of what this is. And make no mistake, Barbie is absolutely a toy commercial, and it even is a toy commercial just from the founding of how this movie came about. So most of the time when movies come about, it's because a producer is either looking at a script, or he's looking at a property, or he's looking at a show, and he either wants to adapt it, acquire something, and the producer goes to the studio and says, I want to make this movie, and I have this vision for it, and all that jazz. So that's how this works. That's why producers, even though they are rarely seen, they are instrumental to movies. They gather the ideas, they help put the team together. If you really want a great idea of how important a producer can be to the success and even the quality of the movie, check out the documentary about David O. Selznick making Gone with the Wind. It's a fascinating documentary, and that shows exactly how hands-on producers can be. Well, the producer for Barbie is Mattel. Mattel, the company, not anyone in particular at Mattel. It's Mattel. And when they announced this movie, they announced that they were going to make Barbie to reintroduce the brand to a new world. And that's the key word. They were going to reintroduce the brand to the new world. Now, they were going to say it was going to be unexpected, but like basically, they're basically announcing like, yeah, we're going to make a commercial, but don't write that off. This is going to be a special kind of commercial. And if you think that Mattel is not in control of the movie, here's the thing. Amy Schumer was originally tapped to not only write the script, but to play Barbie. And this was in pre-production for a while, and she was like, yeah, I'm going to subvert what Barbie is. I'm going to comment on the real world with Barbie, and I'm just going to do this. And ultimately, Mattel was like, yeah, you're going a little too far. We think that people aren't going to want to play with their Barbies after this movie comes out. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but basically they split with her for creative differences, because whatever Schumer was doing was going too far, and it was going to potentially negatively reflect on the Barbie brand. Now then, they have since brought in Greta Gerwig to direct, Academy Award nominated screenwriter Noah Baumbach to write. By the way, I should also mention Greta Gerwig is also an Academy Award nominee, because she probably has a lot more to do with this movie than Noah. And Academy Award nominated actors Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling. This is an extremely talented cast and director and writer. It doesn't seem like this is a commercial, but make no mistake, Greta Gerwig does not have final cut of the movie. And for those of you who do not know what final cut is, that is when someone says, okay, this is what the movie's going to be. You cut the film, and this is the person that gets to say, that's what we're releasing. Gerwig does not have final cut of Barbie. Mattel has final cut with this movie. And though there have been no stories that Mattel has meddled significantly with what Greta has wanted, what we do know is that they worked with Greta so that, unlike Schumer, she did not make a movie that they would not disapprove of. So Mattel has their hands in all of this, because ultimately, while they may be interested in seeing what a more mature Barbie would look like, what a more subversive Barbie might look like, they ultimately want to sell the toys. They want Barbie to remain a brand. Heck, the logo of the movie is even the same as the toys, and they definitely want kids to see the logo on the movie posters, see them at the toy stores, and buy them. Now, some people might be saying, well, it can't be a toy commercial because it's rated PG-13, it's written for adults, and in fact, one of my friends even said, do you honestly think Greta Gerwig wrote Barbie to help sell toys for Mattel? Okay, I think we're missing a few things here when you say things like that. First of all, adults do buy Barbie. Like, there are Barbie collector's dolls that are really, really expensive. And I even cheekily asked him on Twitter, like, I don't know, is this a toy or is it a collectible? Seriously, which one is it? I'm kind of having a hard time figuring out, is that a toy or is that a collectible? So, adults buy toys. They buy collectibles. And to one person, a piece of plastic might be a toy. For another person, it might be a collector's item, regardless of what the price is. So adults buy this stuff. But here's the other thing. Even though they're making it for adults, and even though they're gearing it for a more adult audience, do you honestly think kids aren't going to see it? I mean, most of the Marvel movies are geared towards teens and adults, but I see kids in there all the time. I would argue Jurassic Park is not a kids movie, and yet there were so many kids watching that movie when it came out that it inspired them to make the official Jurassic Park lineup of toys, and those lineup of toys have been around ever since that first movie because they keep making Jurassic Park movies. I don't think any of them are kid-friendly, but kids buy the toys. And heck, let's look at Terminator and Rambo. These are two franchises that were R-rated, made for adults. And not only did they make toys, they even made Rambo into a kid's cartoon. And they made video games for kids to play. And those were R-rated properties. So it's not an excuse to say, well, this movie's for adults, that they're not also targeting kids. They know that kids will want to see this movie. And they know that parents will bring the kids to see this movie, whether it's suitable for kids or not. And I might as well take this moment to confirm at least one thing before the review. This movie's not for kids. You should not take your kids to see Barbie. And that's, I'll repeat that claim in the review. Okay, so now let's say you're on board. Now you're saying, okay, it's a toy commercial. Should that mean that I not see it? Does that mean it's going to be bad? No, that does not mean it's going to be bad. You know what else is a toy commercial? The Lego Movie. And the Lego Movie is it is a great movie. I gave it 5 stars in my review. It was number 4 on my top 10 list last year, or whatever year it came out. It's been a while. I love the Lego Movie. That was the surprise of the generation, if you will. But it was a toy commercial. Throughout the whole movie, you're seeing all these franchise characters. They're all Lego made, as if they're advertising all the different types of characters you can get in Lego form. They're showing you how to build things in the movie, and ultimately at the end of the movie, father and son bond over Legos. Yes, the story is about being true to oneself, like it is for a lot of movies. Yes, the movie is about father and son coming together, even though they didn't show up until the end of the movie. And yes, it's actually quite touching, and it's a beautiful ending. But basically, Legos, this product, solved all the problems. You want to know what other movie exists that came out from the 80s where a product brought the family together, made father and son bond, and was a focal point in getting a kid to open up and relate to the world? The Wizard, in which a autistic kid wins a Nintendo tournament and is extremely good at playing Nintendo games. And really, the only difference between these two movies, because in many ways the storylines almost follow beat for beat. You know, they find their creativity and voice through the products that they are playing with, and family comes together thanks to the products, is that one movie is significantly better than the other movie. And it's not even like doing something blatantly commercial makes your movie bad per se. Disney, for example, makes their animated movies, and they always create cute little side characters in almost every single one of their movies. And look, I'm not going to dump too much on them. You know, you've got Sebastian and Flounder, and you've got Lumiere, and you've got the genie, you've got Abu the monkey, you've got Morph from Treasure Planet. There's an obscure one for you. But you have all of these cute sidekick Disney characters, Olaf and things like that. And some of them are classic characters. Some of them absolutely do contribute to the story of these movies. But why do you think they're in almost every single one? It's because they sell a buttload of merchandise. And that is not lost on Disney. And that's why, with very, very few exceptions like Atlantis the Lost Empire, there is always a cute Disney sidekick that can be marketed and sold as a toy and as a plush. Heck, here's a little bit of a side note for you. Brother Bear was originally going to feature a human turning into a bear and running into an elderly bear who teaches him the way of nature and the world. And Disney CEO Michael Eisner went into the story room and personally told everyone, change the old bear into a kid bear, because we can make dolls off of that. And that's why Kodai, that character that most Disney fans don't like, Brother Bear's not their best movie anyway, but you know. That is why he is the co-star instead of the elderly bear, who was reduced to a supporting role later in the film. It was because the company mandated that it happen so that they could sell plushes and toys. That's also why that weird blob thing in Strange World exists. In fact, I'm even going to go a step further. That's why Pascal, or whatever the heck his name is, from Tangled exists. Look, I don't dislike Pascal. I think he's cute, he's funny, but he is absolutely pointless in that movie. You could take him out and it would not make a single bit of difference in the storyline. He's not annoying, so nobody says anything. But if you took Pascal out, movie's exactly the same. Why is he there then? Because Pascal makes for merchandise. It happens all the time. And I'm kind of amazed that people are offended that you would suggest that Barbie, which was literally based on merchandise, is not a toy commercial. Now then, let's talk about why is this potentially bothering people? Well, I think it bothers people for a few reasons. The one that started this was that some people were writing Barbie off because it was based off of merchandise and it was a commercial. And I can understand why that would be upsetting, because I'm guilty of this too. I wrote off the new Dungeons and Dragons because it was like, well, it's there to sell more cards, and the first movie wasn't particularly good. So, but then it was ended up being actually very enjoyable. So that was a nice surprise. But you shouldn't write something off just because it is at its core a commercial. I think the other reason this bothers people is because they don't want to admit that they want to see a movie that's basically a commercial. I mean, we hate commercials. Before Netflix and Disney Plus and Max added ad tiers, we paid extra for Hulu because we didn't want those damn commercials. We wanted to skip them. Life's too short. But here's the thing. When I went to film school at American River College, and Professor T, who would constantly make jokes like, and if you call me Mr. T, you're going to get popped in the mouth. He was a cool teacher. I loved him. He asked the question on day one, what is Hollywood here to do? Are they here to entertain, or are they here to make money? Most of us freshmen naively said, well, they're here to entertain. Of course they're here to entertain. And he's like, wrong. They are here to make money. And they make money by entertaining you. Now, if you ask that question about a commercial, what is the point of a commercial? Is it to entertain, or is it to sell you something? Most people wouldn't hesitate. Well, of course, it's here to sell you something. And you would be right, because it is. But to sell you something, they must entertain. And while there are a ton of commercials that are cringy and annoying, there are some very popular and iconic commercials that are iconic for a reason. Coca-Cola's I'd love to buy the world a Coke, that Hershey's Kisses commercial that they play every Christmas. And of course, you have your series of commercials, your Geico commercials, Flow from Progressive, and my personal favorite, the Jack in the Box commercials. I don't care that every time Jack comes on screen, he's trying to sell me a Jumbo Jack and curly fries. I don't care. Those commercials are wildly entertaining, usually very funny, and I enjoy watching them. You know, when I'm not paying for the ad-free plan. So if a 30-second commercial can be entertaining, why can't a 2-hour commercial be entertaining? There's still skill that has to be put into commercials. There's still things that have to be done to make them entertaining. Why can't those skills be used to make a movie that is also trying to sell you something while also having something to say and being entertaining? Look, again, my review for Barbie is coming at a later date. But if you want to see Barbie, that is perfectly fine. If you are entertained by Barbie, that is perfectly fine. But let us not kid ourselves. It is a commercial. It was made to sell toys. In fact, the one thing I will spoil is that near the end, there is a whole shakeup of the Barbie world and characters, if you will. And if you don't think they're not going to make toys based on that shakeup, I've got another thing coming to you. Heck, Mattel even made a documentary about redesigning the Barbie dolls for the 21st century. And guess what? It was a thought-provoking documentary. It did look critically at the history of Barbie. But the whole point of the documentary was, see, we have changed the way Barbie is. So can you please come and buy our shit? That's what this is all about. It's about making money. It's about selling product. But it's all right, especially if the movie is good. I mean, look, Star Wars, even though it wasn't made to sell merchandise, it ultimately became a merchandise machine. Transformers, those existed to sell toys, but the shows were entertaining, and there's nothing wrong with liking them. I don't see why this is such an offensive idea to people. Greta Gerwig's Barbie is a toy commercial. For some, it's very entertaining. It can be both. As for my opinion on the movie, have to wait till next week. But in the meantime, would love to know what your thoughts on this stance is. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.